Hey, thanks, Adrian. This is like so awesome. It's like second consecutive day where we got to where we get to pair together.
Yeah, this is great.
I gotta tell you, I had sent you a couple of videos last night of just like how excited. I mean, it was actually just I went through the video and tried to find exactly the moments where I actually got stuff working, and I'm just like laughing, like just cackling in delight. I mean, it was just um, I put in the Slack message. It felt like I use the word flowful. It was like I was trying to think about like the opposite of being caught in barbed wire, where you're trying to get something to work and just don't really know how to get there. It was just um like, is there an obvious answer for like why it's been so easy so far? I mean, I had complained to you before, like what made me pick this up is like I was trying to write something. I was just trying to get certain states to update, and like I never had that problem. Um, I mean, is there an obvious answer to like why it's so much easier in membrane?
I don't know. I mean, I think so I mean, just looking at kind of, I mean, we don't have the same workflow, but kind of looking through just kind of how you built it, a lot of it feels familiar to me. So there may
Yeah.
be maybe just some background of like how we our experience programming where we both kind of have like a similar take on
Uh,
philosophy on like how to program. There's some connection there, or maybe um I mean, I think especially if I mean, you're very proficient in closure and membrane tries to like basically not do anything too fancy and just like apply closure principles to UI programming.
uh,
And so maybe it's also just that where you're like, you've got all this knowledge about how to use closure, and now all of that applies to user interfaces, and you're like, oh man, this just feels like closure programming. I like closure programming, and it's working for me.
well, I mean, before we leave this topic, I mean, one of them that um, I was describing to you earlier yesterday, the spending hours, hour and a half, 2 hours, like one of those things where you're just like embarrassed about like how much time you spend just trying to get a certain component to update, right? And you're changing a value and it's like not updating somewhere else. And is that uh I mean, is that like a category of problems that you've seen people struggle with?
I mean, that's what I'm
Yeah. So
trying to
what
work
is it?
against with membrane.
Yeah. And so what
Oh,
is
so
it categorically about like the way membrane's designed that just seem to like um obviate that entire category of problems?
I mean, I think one thing that really helps there is really like if you have a big complex application, the goal is to build it from smaller pieces and then
Yeah.
you kind of compose it together. And I think membrane um, really helps you do that where you don't have to like I mean it's like I've built the applications before where like like I used to work on games, and so you like if there's a problem on level 3, you have to like somehow get to level 3 and then like reproduce it, and then you make some changes, and then you have to somehow get back to level 3. You might like
Yeah.
have helpers that do that, but you can't just like start at level you can't just have level 3 as its own simple piece that you
Yeah.
kind of like take apart and focus on that one thing. And so I think um just breaking like each view is its own small piece that you can use by itself without anything else, no other context, lets you kind of just focus on
Yeah.
the thing that you're actually trying to
But it
it
felt
helps
like
you focus.
so today we're gonna talk about like the the what model? The
This state management, I
yeah, state
guess.
management model. Right. And so like it feels like so just maybe I should have started with that, but I'd asked for like just a couple of minutes like just to help me clarify my mind, like what is different. So part of it is like composition, but it feels like the problem I run into is like I can't, it's more about the eventing model where I can't get a certain button push or I update an atom and I can't get that component on the screen to update. I mean, like when I describe problems like that, or like, does that sound familiar to you?
You mean generally or with membrane
Oh no,
or
no, with everything but membrane. That's been my common
oh,
thing.
okay. Um, I don't know. I guess I think I've mentioned this previously where I've as part of working on membrane, I try to like look at every single option that's out there to see what they're doing.
Yeah.
Not just in the closure world, but kind of even more broadly. And so some of this stuff is already kind of familiar to me just because I've kind of like, when you jump around and look at the different pieces, you can kind of, and especially if you're working on kind of the underlying layer, when it's not working, you have at least some sense of where to look to how to fix it, because you've also worked on that part as well. So, but yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so I'm gonna think more critically about that. I'm just trying to understand, like, if I can be more specific with describing, like, what are the problems that I get caught up in, and try to understand, like, am I just fooling myself that, I just want to understand, like, what is it that Membrane is doing differently, that you've done differently with Membrane that just seems to liberate me from that problem. So I'll keep thinking about it, and hopefully I'll like trigger a reaction from you, like, oh, a recognition. Okay. So I'm in your hands now. Yeah, in fact, the goal of the call is to walk through the event model.
Yeah, so let's see. So I started just kind of thinking about where to kind of get started. And so there's, actually, I'd like to hear a little bit about, like, kind of like, if you were going to add some features, like what kind of, like, it seems like it looks like you have like a little bit of a to-do list here, and it looks like you've gotten quite a few.
Oh yeah, I got done with everything I wanted to do last night. In fact, hey, maybe I just, for the sake of the recording, can I just share what I did? And,
I think that'd be a good start to.
Screen. All right, here's the okay, so this is the where is the, okay, here's you. Okay. Oh, it's so fun. Yeah, so I can animate every frame, and I just I kind of screwed up the bounding rectangle. I just got that working, but I was so delighted with that, and thanks for the help on getting the frame rate back up. And why isn't this? I'm kind of in this weird state. I'm building sketch. Okay, so the just to so right now, basically the policy of scheduling is that you have these movers and painters at the bottom, and they'll work sort of in FIFO order from top to bottom. And it was just, even having this animation was just so delightful to me. So I can set up with different states and actually see. Okay, normally what you would see is like them all going to completion. So I'm in this weird state where I'm now trying to get see what happens when you go from change the scheduling policy to go from movers start at the top and painters start at the bottom. And so that's been actually, it's been amazing just to see I've been managed to spot a whole bunch of things that go wrong in the animation that I just certainly wouldn't be able to tell by looking at frame number 73. It's actually been really great because now I can see exactly where it gets stuck, grab the frame number, grab the 18th frame, right, and make a test case for that. So super, super handy. Today, I just posted in the Slack message that I was playing around with emojis. I started putting boxes around here just so I could, ultimately, I'd like to be able to move more of the presentation of these entities into the room. So I just want to create some rectangle boxes to sort of separate them. And then instead of just putting a keyword, I put these other things here and add discovered colors. I guess one question I have is like, I probably spent about 10 minutes trying to find like, I've never worked in RGB space where the range was 0 to 1. So
Oh yeah.
I would, actually, I was going to, I love how in Vega, color palette, the idea of like trying to find some sort of set of colors that are compatible with each other in RGB space is like, in fact, I couldn't even like, I know R, G, and B. I don't know anything else. So I would just love to be able to like pick some well-known colors and you know, that other people have chosen that I can just use as my palette. And I was kind of the idea of like converting 0 to 255 space to 0 to 1 space kind of threw me for a loop. Haven't done that yet. I actually thought that
I mean, just to comment on that real quickly is that, I mean, it's just a vector of numbers. So you can just, you know, map V, divide by 255.
Oh,
and that gives you, that's how you convert the 0 to 255 to 0 to 1. And since it's just a vector, it's just value. So you can do the regular programming thing of giving all these things names by just like
yeah,
def, green, or put it in a map. But yeah, I mean, I think having a library or a namespace that kind of has a lot of that stuff built in would be useful. I know
yeah. In
that
fact, oh, sorry, yeah.
there's I think the username is Generate Me, who did CLJ plot and some other cool stuff. Recently did like a deep dive of representing colors.
Oh,
And so that's the type of thing where I think you could just kind of without much effort pull that into or use that in membrane, because it has
sweet.
all the different things of working with color. Like if you've got hue, saturation, and you can like, you know, it'll do all the conversions and like it represents colors. So as long as you can spit out, yeah,
It's
so
awesome.
anyway,
In fact, I'm actually going to create a little namespace of kind of helper functions. Like the other one that kind of threw me for a loop was creating these boxes, having to use the bounding function to create the rectangle. Most libraries have a way to, or I think have a way to say, hey, put this inside of a rectangle. So anyway, I'll create a little group of these helper functions, and at some point maybe I'll do a show and tell. Like one of the first things I'm gonna do is you know, just come up with a color palette that I can use. Oh, and the other thing that I found was a little surprising, we ran into this yesterday with no, can you I was a little bit surprised by how is it rectangle? The fact that rectangle takes 2 is Airity 2 instead of a rectangle, or and some other places where
yeah, there's some places where there's like it takes like a vector of 2 things versus where sometimes it just takes 2
right,
separate arguments. Yeah, I mean,
not a big deal. And actually, I just love the fact that in so many places I can just put in a vector instead of having to wrap it inside of like a horizontal or vertical layout. That was just I didn't know I could do that. That was awesome. Yeah. So all these little I found the Airity thing a little bit I wouldn't say inconsistent. I don't understand the a couple times I found myself passing the wrong thing. And I love the fact that you can sort of put these vectors in and it will just the right thing will just happen. That was like really great.
Yeah, I mean, I think like some of the stuff in the UI model is like because that's kind of where I first started. And so
Yeah.
since I've used it, I've like have a deeper understanding of where I want it to be, but I kind of want to take some time to like, collect this kind of feedback so I don't end up with like, because I do want to like do a better pass at it. And then that would live alongside the old one. And you can kind of
Yeah.
just, your old code won't stop working, but then you can kind of move to the one that makes sense. Or if you're
Yeah.
just starting, you can just use the one that makes sense. But I don't want to end up with like 4 different versions or 3 different
Right.
versions. Like I'd like to do the second pass and try to get as much fixed in the second pass as I can. So that's kind of there's some stuff like that where it's a little bit inconsistent or a little bit clunky, but passable. And so for those things, I'm trying to collect and then like figure out
Yeah.
how to, do it better the second time.
All good. Yeah, it's hardly it's like this is far short of anything, even a criticism. I'm just just kind of going through my mind of like what things I
And I
struggle
did
with.
want to mention that there is a built-in function for putting a box around something. It's called UI bordered. But yeah, it's I mean, some of these things is like making sure the documentation makes that easy to find and having good names so that they're easy to find is all ways to make these things easier to use. So
yeah, super. And like all your examples were great. I had like earlier this morning, maybe it was last night, I put in a pull request, like the kitchen sink demo was super useful, right? Just to be able to see
cool, yeah.
just like what options, what widgets were available. And again, I was just so delighted to get so much working last night. In fact, after you sent me the frame rate, the fix to get the call to refresh working, or is it repaint refresh? I got out of bed at 12:30 just to give it a try. It was so fun. I ended up spending another half hour just because it was so fun.
Cool.
Actually, maybe just one more thing. I mean, I feel like this is so easy that there's a whole bunch of things that I would probably use this for that I normally wouldn't. Like there's the whole things I would just love to visualize or like render that normally I would like Clerk has made a lot of things easier, but anything where you have a lot of stuff where you have to somehow get it to the Clerk front end, like I still find that rather intimidating, right? So like there's a whole bunch of stuff that I can I feel like is now within reach using Membrane. Like in fact, this whole problem, right, is exactly one of those. I was actually thinking about like, okay, how do I render all these frames inside of Clerk in an easy way? And I did actually try that for a different project, and so I'm finding this very, very easy and even fun.
And just some other cool things is that so all of these views that you've made, so those views are like when you call it returns that as a value, and you can use that value to like all of the backends for the most part, especially Skia, you can spit out an image from that. So if you just want to like spit out a screenshot or you want to spit out a bunch of them, you can just feed that into and save that directly to images. And then there's a separate library.
Wait, what? Hang on. So you're saying like what's the thing I could do to
so DevView is a you can just call DevView and that returns a view.
Okay.
It doesn't take any arguments. And then
DevView. Okay. Oh, holy cow. All right. And you're saying that I can
so I think it's Skia save image is the name of the function. So if you, I don't know if you could pull up the docs for Skia in the Skia namespace, save image. I think that's the name. Oh, I should double check.
Save. Sorry, is it save dash image? Save image. Holy cow. Wait a minute.
Oh, yeah.
What?
And so this saves it to the local file system.
Wait a minute, you're saying
which
I
is
can do
also
that?
really, yeah. So I think it requires a few different arguments. Okay, I guess you just need the name of the file name and the element. So you'll two is the fewest.
And wait, I'm sorry, what format does it do? JPEG.
I think if you just have the file name end with .jpeg, it will do the right thing. Hopefully. I know it does PNG. I'm not, yeah. So
Oh my gosh, hang on. Stand by. What? Oh my gosh. What the? Oh man, that is so cool. All right.
and there's another library that wraps FFmpeg, so you can have it spit out videos or GIFs. So I went on. One thing that I've done with Membrane is I use it to make GIFs for Slack emojis because.
Oh my
I don't know.
gosh. Wait, I'm sorry.
But that's a separate library.
Okay.
But I mean, it's like one of those things where like, okay, this view is a value. So,
Oh my
you know,
gosh.
like I could display it on the screen, but I can also draw it to an image. I can send it to FFmpeg,
Oh my gosh.
FFmpeg. And you can also, run tests on it or whatever. You can take it apart. So if you wanted to just like grab all the text that's displayed on the screen, given that view, you can like walk the tree and just like pull out all the text if you wanted to.
Oh my, actually, can you give me a second to parse that? So I could actually generate a movie of all the frames just by sending, doing a for, like basically, if I have 200 frames, states, I can then generate 200, map that into 200 views, and then save that into 200 images.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that should be like 3 or 4 lines of code.
Okay, that's wild. Okay, that's cool. Okay, love it. Thanks for telling me that. That is so great. Okay, cool. I'll. Oh, and by the way, I did open up a pull request, and I gotta figure out where to put it. I'm sorry. I will open up a pull request in the just suggesting you add the paragraph clerk notebook into the list of either tutorials or the list of examples or something. Anyway, I'll.
Yeah, I was because I was looking for it to send to you, and I was like, I thought I put that somewhere, but I had to go look for the Slack message to like. So yeah, that is a.
Yeah, I have a note for myself to make a recommendation on where it should be referenced. Anyway, so cool. Okay, I'm in your hands. So like where should we take this?
So like one of the, I mean, I was thinking, I don't know what features you wanted to add, but one thing that, just looking at what you were doing that I was maybe interested in was having basically building like a little an initialization editor. So something, because I saw that when you run this sim, you create this trait. So you add a bunch of rooms and you add a bunch of movers and stuff.
Yes.
So create a little UI that does just that, and then have maybe another thing that lets you like run a simulation using whatever that setup is.
Okay. Thank you. In fact, can I okay, create pane on the left with buttons. It would say in start FIFO, start LIFO. That would be great. That'd be awesome. In fact, that was going to be something I was going to work on later today. I was also thinking about, we started yesterday with like the notion of a slider.
Mhm.
And
Okay, yeah.
I'm not sure if I need a slider, but I would love to see kind of what does a membrane, I'll just
Okay,
say it.
yeah,
I
because
screwed up the Humble UI implementation of a slider, and I could either get the slider to update the atom, but I couldn't get the atom to update the view, and so I would just love to prove to myself that um, somehow that's a different approach.
okay, yeah. So I mean, I actually implemented that on my local, so we can start there because that's kind of fresh in my head
Yeah. Okay.
for maybe how to go about that. So I'm going to send you a kind of a require statement to kind of pull in um, what I usually require for pulling in the membrane state. So all the stuff, the state management stuff is in a namespace called membrane.component.
Okay. Actually, can you by the way, this is it was so cool. Thank you for sending me that pull request yesterday. I was actually marveling at just how easy GitHub makes it just to incorporate that change. So I'm like halfway into this thing. What would you recommend I do? Like I'm sort of in this kind of broken state. Do I check it all in and just, or should I stash it and create a new branch? Like what
Yeah, maybe we can create a branch from kind of last where you either stash or create a new branch or check it in and create a new branch from where where you kind of left off previously.
okay, so how about like okay, so don't check anything in. Okay, create the branch first.
Well, you can create as long as you can create the branch from any commit.
Yeah. So I should stash
Yeah, you
kind
probably
of,
do want to save whatever you're working. Yeah.
yeah. And then we'll go back to a reasonable spot. Does that sound reasonable? Or you know what? I'm just screwed. I'm just gonna check it all in.
Yeah.
Oh, forget later.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, hopefully, like if you've already made a bunch of changes to the UI itself, we don't want to like overwrite that work. You probably want to continue.
Okay. All right. I'm on a branch called alternate schedulers, just so you know. And I'm in a kind of a semi-working state right now. Okay, but enough to generate these. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, one of the things I just loved is the fact I could just go to the last page with $sign and just stop the animation. I just it was an unexpected delight. Okay.
Well, you also notice that you can like fight the animation, so you can kind of hit previous frame while it's trying to move forward, and it'll
yeah.
you can tug of war with it.
Yes. Awesome.
Okay.
Very cool. Yep.
So I sent you a oh, it looks like you've already put it in there, or maybe I sent it to you previously, where you're referring the DevUI, DevEffect, and MakeApp.
Oh, right. Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay, so yeah, this is the like I said, this is the state management stuff that Membrane offers. And so we'll probably have to kind of break it before we can fix it a little bit. So
and that's I saw this in your kitchen sink example. Okay, yeah. So okay, keep going. I'm yours.
Okay, so let's create, so instead of taking the instead of changing your existing components, let's just create a new top level component that we can work from, because you can kind of it's useful to start at the top. So create a new, like I don't know what a good name is for like the top level component. We were using DevView before, but I don't know.
How about DevView 2?
DevView 2. So, but this time, instead of making it a normal function, we're going to make a membrane component using DevUI. So it should look the same. So let's create a new function.
Yep.
Yeah, DevUI.
Hang on, I had a spot for it. And by the way, can you educate me in terms of, okay, what is a def UI in the broadest sense? Like,
Yeah, so yeah, this is somewhere I could use some practice to explain. So hopefully,
yeah.
So and membrane components are pure functions that take data and return views. And the reason, so as you've seen, you can just kind of use regular functions for that. The benefit of using these def UI components is that if you have, I mean, just when creating user interfaces,
Yeah.
if you have like a text input, so a text input has like a ton of state. So it has like the text cursor, it has text selection, has the text itself. It may have the last place you clicked if you're like clicking and dragging to select text. So there's all this state.
Yeah.
And in some cases, a lot of the state is kind of incidental to your application. So there's a lot of applications that use a text input and they don't care about, they're like, just tell me what text is in there and you handle the cursor and the text selection. You just like, tell me what the text is, and everything else is completely incidental. And so what DevUI does is it helps you, one, have like a pure function that like everything, all the data is passed through function arguments, but also kind of implicitly handle the stuff you don't care about. So it will implicitly help you thread all of this incidental state.
Yeah.
And but in practice, I mean, the goal is to like, it works just like a regular function call, but it handles all the implicit stuff that you don't care about.
Okay,
so you don't have to deal with it. So that's the whole.
And may I ask that, like, for example, like you have a UI text area. And so actually, you know what? Like maybe just like 60 seconds, like what would be the benefit of putting that in a def UI instead of just using a text area?
What's the text area that we're comparing it with?
So you have a text area.
I don't think there's actually.
Oh, no.
There's a checkbox.
Oh,
but,
yes. Got it.
But the checkbox is just the view. So it doesn't do any of the state, doesn't handle any of the implicit state. There's no text area because there's not really.
Got it.
Yeah. So.
Okay. All right. Keep going. Okay. Thank you. I'm tracking.
Okay, cool. So, and so the one requirement is that, I mean, this could be more general, but just to kind of like, the way it works now is that every def UI component takes a single map. And so it's required that you have to have a literal map as the only argument, and it should have a keys. I mean, I guess I can send you, but it's required to kind of declare the properties that it has. And that's so that it can figure out what implicit state is missing and then deal with it for you.
Roger.
So make it. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so and so for our dev view, let's move the let's have two properties, and we can have we probably want the frame and then also the SimState.
All right. And then
so let's just have it pass, SimState as a value, and we'll assume that it's like already inside the it's already pulled out of the atom that we're currently using for now.
Okay.
Okay, and let me send you kind of some boilerplate for yeah, I'm just writing some boilerplate really quick to kind of create the view function. So you have it DevView 2. Okay, hopefully this doesn't have any typos, but I'm sending you.
Awesome. Yeah.
Oh, and I mean, just we can kind of come back to fix this later, but let's also, so I'm reusing the state atom.
Yep.
We could create a separate atom, which may make sense, but
I'm sorry. Could you?
oh yeah, I guess I can explain. So
I'm sorry. Wait a minute. Hang on. Is this? Okay, so that works. Okay, got it. Okay, I have some error messages happening.
yeah, it looks like you're returning 0 from the def UI, so I think that's why it's trying to, yeah.
Okay, I think that's oops. Okay, very good. So here, so this is a global variable, and I put this into a comment form. In fact, you know what?
Okay, and so I think before what was the key that we used for the frame was frame rather than frame num.
Oh, in the up here.
Yeah.
Frame. Yeah. Okay, yes. Whoops.
And I think I sent you a swap statement just to kind of get our app state in kind of somewhere to start with, and we can
yeah. Yep.
Sorry. All
No,
this is kind
I'm
of boilerplate, but
no, it's all good. Wait, sorry, hang on. I'm okay. So I was up a little bit late last night. A little bit slower than normal. Okay, so I think that's right. Sorry, hang on. Let me just confirm. So we got a frame and the SimState. Yep, and turns. Okay, yep, got it.
cool. And I think because so unfortunately right now, if you change the properties that the top level view receives, that you have to kind of reevaluate things. So we may have to reevaluate all of the DevView 2, DevApp 2, and reopen the window.
Oh.
Yeah, unfortunately that's
No.
Okay, so yeah, let's put something inside of, or let's put something inside of our DevView just to see if it's working.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Oh,
I don't
there
know
we
what.
go.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Okay, and let's see. Okay. So let me send you
Oh,
One last thing, hopefully.
oh no, all good, all good. Right. Layout. Okay.
So I just sent you a number slider to kind of put inside of your DevView 2.
Hang on a sec here. Configure DevUI. Resolve DevUI as a defen. Is that right?
Yeah, that should.
Yeah.
And then I think the properties I was expecting. Oh, I think we had SimState instead of AppState, but we can. It doesn't matter which one. We just have to be consistent.
Right. Sorry, stand by.
Sorry, I'm giving you a bunch of.
No. Okay, so SimState is a vector. So that's right. You so one is called SimState.
Yeah.
And it's a vector. Yep.
And we may need to. I think we need to, because since we changed the property name, I think we have to reevaluate the app and the. So it's really
got
only
it.
the top. It's really only the top level app. Okay, so hopefully, you should have a slider in there that's kind of.
Oh my gosh! What the?
And one thing I think that is cool is that if you open the window from the other app, a second window.
Yeah. What?
So can you open? Do you have the command still that opens the DevView 1?
Yeah. What? Oh my gosh. Sorry, I'm just.
Okay, so now if you move the slider, and if you can, hopefully this is like all connected. Okay, yeah. So,
oh my gosh. I mean, come on.
So yeah.
That's just the coolest thing. Holy cow. So I mean, just to maybe concretize my understanding. So this is the difference. Like in a lot of the UI frameworks, the state lives like in the component. I mean, you're sort of shoving a value in the component. So this is, the state is living inside of the app state atom, which is why you can do this really surprising thing, right? This is kind of surprising that you can have two instances of
right.
actually sharing literally the same state.
Right.
And just to make sure I'm reacting appropriately, this is somewhat surprising. Many might find this surprising.
Yeah, I mean,
wow.
I mean, this is yeah, the goal. I mean, like the way, like a large part of the design for DevUI was like, if you go to the whiteboard and you write, like, I mean, obviously you're not going to write exactly this, but in principle, that's what you want on the whiteboard, and then you go spend like an hour spitting out a bunch of code that you don't care about that does the same thing on the whiteboard. So the goal of the macro is to like here's what you would write on the whiteboard. It's a full specification. Any programmer could turn that into the code that runs your UI. So why not just have the computer turn that into the code that runs your UI? So that's what DevUI helps you do, is that it just like takes the code that you would normally write at the whiteboard and just makes that work. or at least
Okay.
tries
Oh
to.
my gosh. Holy cow. Can I that is so cool. Part of me wants to try this, but I'm afraid I'm going to screw this up. I'm going to swap app state. And I'm going to update the SimState. How do I take? I want to take only the first 50, just to shrink down the range of the slider bar.
Okay.
How do I?
Oh, you can do a subvec, I think is the name.
Oh,
I mean,
cool.
not that it has to be a subvector, but you can.
And do I put it inside of a function? It has to be a function.
Yeah. And so
then like that.
I think you have to do 0.
V start end.
Yeah, so like 0 to 50. Yeah.
Okay. That look okay to you?
Mm-hmm. Fingers crossed. Okay.
Come on. Okay, that is like so cool.
And inside of your DevView, you can just call, or instead of DevView 2, you can call DevView, the original one, just to like put it inside of your DevView 2.
No, wait, what?
Right, because it's just a function. So
oh man. Okay, this is so by the way, DevView 2 was like the dumbest name ever. Okay. Let's see here. So I'm going to cut that. Let's call it slider. Stand by. I'm trying to make up for atone for my horrible decision here. So now it's no longer a DevView 2. It's wait. Hopefully I haven't screwed this up. Okay.
yeah, so the slider is a
oh,
I think you need to make an app from the slider. So where it says
yeah.
I don't remember where you had the MakeApp call, but I mean you can also just do it in place.
Where did my MakeApp go?
I mean, you can just call MakeApp and then the slider var and then the name of the atom.
What is MakeApp?
So I mean, this is an area where it could be simpler a bit. Basically, an application that's like you have like a normal view that gets put as part of your application, but there's also, you typically want, like for any application, you usually want global stuff like focus. There's some state with like copy and paste and like top level window events that you want to handle automatically. And then the other thing that you can provide is a set of handlers. So we haven't really talked about this yet, but you've already kind of, the way you've set things up in your namespace is already kind of similar to how Membrane kind of expects, where you have the animate effect. And so Membrane lets you create these effects and you can pass in the effect handlers when you make the app. So it's like, so then you can kind of get the separation between like the animate effect and how to do it. So it kind of just puts all that stuff together. And by default, it uses all of the global effect handlers. But for testing or for debugging or building dev tools, sometimes like you want to run the app, but you don't want it to be like directly connected to the thing that's sending network requests and like talking to the database.
Got it.
So you can provide that separately. So it kind of like packages together a bunch of the stuff that you need to make an actual application, but tries to like package it in a way for you.
And
so
okay, I feel like
DevApp 2
yep.
is your view function. So you want to pass Skia run, you want to pass DevApp 2.
And oh my gosh, okay, great. And so I never used MakeApp for the first one.
Mhm.
I just did run DevView. So how why I'm just trying to understand why was it even possible for me to run this without a MakeApp anywhere?
So the Skia run gets you pass the Skia run a view function, and a view function is just a 0 argument function that returns a view. And so with DevView, what's happening is inside of DevView, you're getting the state from the atom yourself.
Yep.
Whereas MakeApp is kind of letting you take the view and give it the atom that you're going to use. So if you want to have like two windows, like if you wanted to have two instances of the number slider running, you could create a new atom, a separate atom that has its own state. So now you have two of these running side by side, and they're not using global state. So with the DevView approach, you can really only have one because there's just one global atom that has your app state.
Right.
Whereas with the MakeApp approach, that's just an instance of it. So you can use global state, but this helps you get away from using global state, which is like you decouple your application for testing and debugging and dev tools.
Wow. Okay, got it. Let me just record a couple notes here. So my excuses, my shoulders totally hurt from like I had so much fun last night. But you know, when you're stuck in front of a computer doing something that's so fun and you go to bed too late and you're a little bit foggy headed, that's me right now. So okay,
you're also my guinea pig for trying to explain this stuff. So
and on the scale of 1 to 10, like just how much magic is happening inside of MakeApp versus Skia run? It sounds like it actually isn't a lot of magic.
Yeah, this is there's a lot more magic in MakeApp for sure. And the reason I feel comfortable doing that is if you want to, you know, it's really easy for you, or one, like there's some stuff where if you want to like MakeApp, you can still break down into smaller pieces that are reusable. So if you want to like change one small piece, you can kind of do that. But also if you don't want to use it at all, like you're not, if you don't like this state management, or you already have your own, or there's another one that you like, or you want to build your own.
Yeah.
You're not, Membrane doesn't make you use the state management. You can do whatever you want. So
got it. And by the way, I was so fascinated with like what you had done with, you had built I'm thinking about your to-do application where you wrote it kind of using the Reframe library, using the Velcro library. And so when you say state management, this is different from a replacement to is it I mean, I guess you could use both.
Yeah, I mean, I think in my I mean, actually, Velcro actually is like an example where they Velcro, I think, is a lot it's a lot simpler than Reframe. So Velcro actually does have like, that gives you I mean, I think they have Velcro Red, where it's like the full experience of like
Right.
developing with Velcro.
Yeah.
But I think if you wanted to like break it apart and use smaller pieces, Velcro does have kind of like under the hood, you can see more. Like if lift up the hood, there's more like, oh, there's an engine, I don't know anything else about cars. There's the coolant. I don't know. There's like there's simpler pieces that get put together.
I'm just trying to resolve the terminology. So this is about state management, is what you said. And so when you implemented on top of when you implemented to using Reframe and Velcro, that was using DevView, or was as opposed to using DevView?
Yeah, so that was as opposed to using DevView.
Okay, got it.
So like all the stuff in membrane.component is kind of like, that's more in the same conceptual space as like Reframe and Velcro.
Got it.
Whereas like everything else, like membrane.ui and membrane.skia don't really have counterparts. I mean, so like React and membrane.skia are kind of similar. So like those are in the same conceptual space. And then HTML and membrane.ui are in the same conceptual space. So there's like the view model, which is like HTML. There's the graphics engine, which is like HTML, which is like membrane.skia, the graphics backend. And then on top of that, there's the state management, which is like Reframe or Redux or Velcro.
Got it. Okay, cool. Okay, this is amazing. Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're just going to my slider takes a frame.
So this isn't going to quite work.
Oh, because
so it's also expecting to get kind of extra state passed into it. I mean, you can't call it. So I mean, maybe it's worth. So I think let's go ahead and do this, and so you can see what this looks like. So it takes a single map, and the map will have a frame key and a SimState key. So we can do that.
Let's see here. So frame will be my SimState. Okay, Roger.
Oh, the SimState is going to be.
Oh no, sorry.
SimState.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, SimState is just SimState.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's also in the app state now, but
okay, got it.
Okay, so let's see what this does.
Actually, you know what? Let's just because I feel like there's some benefit in consistency.
Okay, so it.
Whoa! Oh my gosh, it worked.
Well, so when you try to use it, the events won't work.
Okay, right.
So just to kind of explain what's happening here. So all the DevUI stuff is just a regular function. So you can't call it, you can if you wanted to draw that image, you can just like call slider, pass in the map, and then write that to an image, and it returns a view just like normal. But for the event handling, it needs to the DevUI needs to pass down the state. So as you call, you need a DevUI at the top, and then it passes down to its children. So you really need to kind of like use DevUIs to get to have it thread all of the implicit state for you.
Okay, so by the way, just to make a reaction, so like this is the first time where I've seen kind of an event or state sort of like happen not as expected. It was just because we deliberately took out that plumbing and like didn't connect it.
Right, but if you play with the slider in the other window,
No way, no way, no way.
since that one is hooked up, everything should kind of so
what sort of black magic is this? This is so great.
so if we can, as another experiment, if we can comment out the slider in the render view for a moment.
Yeah.
And then inside of my slider, if we can call render view.
Inside of my slider.
Yeah. So the my slider DevView UI, if we can just anywhere call inside of our vertical layout, call render view.
Inside the vertical layout, or does it have to be?
Yeah, inside, because it's got to be part of the return value.
Okay. Oh, no way. Oh, oh my gosh, really? Get out of here. Okay, so you're saying like I do a resolve?
Yeah, just call render view, like a regular function call. I guess actually call DevView, because DevView doesn't require any arguments. Or you can call it when passing the state, either.
Okay, stand by.
Actually, let's call DevView 2 or DevView. Sorry, I'm mixing everything.
All good, all good.
So DevView doesn't require any argument. So
wait, DevView. Where's my DevView? Can I do that, or how do I?
No, I think you can just call it. I don't think you need to. It doesn't need to be a. Yeah, I think this should work.
Oh,
there it is. Yeah. So the slider should now. Okay, yeah.
That is just a crazy.
And you should also be able to use the buttons and stuff too, and the keyboard shortcuts. Yeah. So you can't go the other way.
Okay, so here's what I think is happening. So this proves like one, it would be very incorrect to think that this is like some sort of imperative function that's actually updating something. What this is really doing is by calling DevView is accumulating the state and the events. I mean, it's
just
somehow
returning a value, and that value is a view, and that view can respond to events. So like one way to look at it is let me just give you a really short snippet really quick that maybe can help.
It returns a view, and the views handle the events.
Yeah, let me think.
That is so cool.
Sorry, hopefully this works.
Yeah, I love it. Oh, I'm
okay, well, I'm just hopefully this works.
Oh, can I show you something real quick before oh no, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm just standing by.
Okay. So yeah, we'll see if this works, and then if it works, I'll explain what's happening.
Awesome. Hey, can I show you something real quick that makes me laugh? So
Yeah.
Slack, they've been updating the UI a lot, and I just love this. Like when you hit the find, instead of displaying the the channel name, you get this very peculiar something that's not a channel name. Okay. Oh, and what I wanted to show you was this. I thought this was such an interesting comment. Like to say that there's something different about Slack. Just the comment that Membrane would be competitive with Flutter on DevView. I just that really caught my attention. I've never used Flutter, but I mean, I think that seems like a pretty great compliment.
Yeah, I mean, I've been really, it's been really nice hearing the things that people have, their impressions from the talk that I gave. So
Freaking awesome. Okay.
So does this return anything?
Stand by.
Unfortunately, it had a. Oh, did I not even send you a valid?
No. It's all good. Or did it? Maybe
It's possible that.
I have par infer, and it's sometimes screws up. Ah, there you go.
Oh, whoops.
Okay.
Okay. I just realized what I did. Okay, so typically in an application, instead of in the event handlers, instead of dispatching the effect in the event handler,
Yeah.
I have it return intent, and then there's a separate place where you actually carry out the intent.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is like, so you can break these things apart, and so now everything's like not directly connected anymore. And so what this function was supposed to do is it, so mouse down is the event function. So you should be able to like pass it a view, say like, what are the intents that would get returned when I click at this coordinate, at coordinate XY. And usually when I build applications, I just have it return the intent, so nothing happens.
Okay.
But I forgot that this style that we've been using so far is we've just been doing the effect in the event handler. So it just clicked all over the screen and like fired off a million events. So right. Yeah.
Wait a minute. Is that true?
Yeah. So that's why it was like printing a bunch of stuff out, because it was like.
Right. Got it. Oh, in fact, oh yeah. Okay. Got it.
Yeah, so I might have just fired off a lot of those.
Perfect.
Sorry about
that. Yeah, that's great.
But if we, I guess, like one thing we could do is if we commented out all of these, so if we left the key press and the mouse down and the buttons, which we already have, if we just comment out all of the implementations in the on, so animate all frames, first frame, last frame, next frame, previous frame, we just comment those out, then it should work, hopefully, the way I intended. No, I mean, comment out the event handler itself. So both the both the keyword and the function that implements it. So there's no longer a handler for it.
Like just comment all these out?
Yeah, that should work.
Or yeah, okay.
Everything except for key press, but since we're not using key press right now, but it doesn't. Yeah.
And then.
So now if you look at the button, so the button is just returning next frame. So
Right.
So
Got it.
hopefully if we click this, it'll give us like the mouse coordinate, or it'll spit out next frame when we try to call that. Is that
on DevView? So it is literally sending a mouse event to the Cartesian product of 1,000 by 1,000.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see, lots of CPU.
Interesting.
And so would this return a million
Well, I was
either
trying
mills
to,
or events?
yeah, I was trying to do with the when and the
Ah.
first to try to just get the first intent that it could find, or get the first sequence of intents that it could find. But okay, well maybe I'd have to prepare this demo.
Shoot, I hit the wrong button. Okay, no worries, all good.
Yeah, I guess I should have tried this locally before.
No. So it
improving
literally
here.
is. I think what you're showing is this kind of another surprising thing of the events coming out of the system. You're feeding an event as a value into the view, and out comes an event.
So it's actually it's like it's kind of slowly as we move away from kind of an imperative model to a functional model. So it's not even like feeding it. It's like it's just a pure function.
Right. Sorry.
Given a view and an event, what intents would happen, or like what is the intents? So it's just just like a regular.
Yes. So I'm sorry. Yeah. What you're showing is this very surprising thing that events are. You feed an intent into a view and out come the events, or the. I feel like I'm not.
If you feed it or you call it with the event, and it returns the intents.
Right. That's crazy. That really is crazy. Okay. DevView. Okay. Stand by. I'm just trying to reconstitute my. Yeah, that's a DevView. Adrian, this is wild. What did I do wrong? Dev app 2.
Oh, I think we need to, so in the comment below, you have where it sets the frame in the SimState. So with this setup, it doesn't know about the convention of using the last frame keyword.
Right.
We haven't set that up, and we also needs the SimState.
Got it. Okay, there we go. Thank you. Let me just okay. Astonishing. Oh, okay. Now, okay. So we're going to add the slider back in, and we're actually going to get it plumbed up.
So I mean, I think if we're going to use the membrane state management, I think the goal would be to start moving the stuff in, or actually, I mean, you can just create a new separate view, but create a new render view with a DevUI parent, and then start putting the selector, the turn, the rooms, and those things inside of the DevUI.
Yeah, got it. Okay. Right. Let's see here. Just give me 1 second. Okay, this is here we go. DevUI render view.
Cool. And then yeah, we'd also need, okay, yeah, there we go. Oh yeah, there you go.
And okay. Do we still?
Yeah, so we want to, I mean, we can replace stuff as we go, but we want to kind of, the transition is to kind of start taking the data from the function arguments rather than from like global app state.
And can I just change it to M?
To that. Yeah, I think that will work.
Okay, so let me prove to myself that I am okay. So DevUI render view is now a DevUI, and so render view. So now I need to change.
So when we create devapp2, instead of passing my slider, I think if we
right.
I think we can just pass render view.
No way.
I think this will work. There's some recent changes to make this more general, so hopefully they work. Oh, because you still had the previous window open.
Oh,
I think. Nope, no, it still didn't like that.
Oh, by the way, can I fix this before? What would you call this? Is the map that you pass in?
I mean, usually I don't give it a name, but if I do, I usually just call it M.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, what is the top of this? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Nope, wrong one. This one. Wait a minute. MakeApp. DevApp2. Okay, let me clear this.
Okay, what is
Let me scroll down or
render view? Okay, so okay, I think the issue is that interesting.
actually, I'm sorry. I think, is this my error? Do I have
No, I think I know what the issue is.
Okay.
So my slider, I think this is a, so I mean, typically, I mean, this is maybe a change that should be handled by DevUI, but my workflow is usually not to pass around the actual map that gets passed in, but instead the individual properties.
Okay.
So typically my style would be to just create a new map literal there and then pass in frame and pass in SimState. And so this seems to be an edge case that I've missed where, yeah, so I think if we can create a new map that has a frame. So yeah, I think this is a bug in render view that is just based on a different workflow than I typically use.
Oh, but it works. Okay, that's amazing. All right. Awesome. Okay, so let me just concretize like what I learned. You taught me this is a state management model that allows you to it's the mechanism to pass in at the highest level the app state and then pass that on to its children. And kind of like what I'm still puzzling over, and in fact, what I can't explain this here is that somehow the slider, what is this slider doing? The number slider.
So kind of the magic here is that so when you create a DevUI, you declare its property. So it has the frame property, is SimState, and then the number slider has its own properties, the num, the min, the max, and the integer. And I think if you're able to jump to the source of the number slider, we can kind of see what's happening. So if you look at the mouse down event, so one, it's got also this extra, so there's a bunch of properties that you didn't pass in. So like M down, this is whether or not you're dragging and so like this is the kind of state that you typically don't care about. Like when you're using the number slider, the fact that you have to keep track of whether you're dragging is like something you don't usually care about. I mean, there may be other cases where you're trying to reuse the number slider. Like sometimes you're using a text input and you care about the cursor. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't.
Love it.
And so one of the key ideas here is that whether or not some state is incidental is depends on the use case, not on the component. And so this is something different from most frameworks in the sense that like in React, if you have whoever authors the component decides whether something is incidental. So they say like they either use local state or they do a property.
Right.
And they choose whether it's incidental. The difference here is these are all properties. And if you pass it in, it's essential. And if you leave it out, it's incidental. So as a consumer, you can say, I care about the cursor. And so you pass it in explicitly because it's essential to what you're doing. But if you don't care, it gets handled implicitly for you.
Yeah. And by the way, can you just give me 1 second to puzzle on something that I'm just I'm finding astonishing? How is it changing? These are values, right? It was the parameters of my slider.
Yeah.
Stand by 1 second. So these are values, right? They're not the atom.
Right.
So how is it changing the atom? So clearly, you're returning these are pure functions. So it's returning something about it, the way it's returning the intent. The events go in, intents come out. So
so
somehow,
maybe this will be a better example of what I was trying to show earlier.
Yeah. And that's what these are. These are a vector of intents.
Yeah.
Update. Oh, it's a def effect is.
Does this work? Okay, cool. So let me send you this, which I tested this time. Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see what happens when you click at the number slider 0, 0.
I'm sorry, just a quick question. This is where set. Oh, okay, no, I'm just going to follow instructions.
Okay, yeah, I mean, so it returns a sequence of intents. And so the first intent isn't that interesting. It's going to set M down to true. because that's
Right.
it's going to keep track of whether it's dragging or not.
Yep.
And then the second intent is to update the slider. And then the second argument there is actually what I call a reference. And so that's one of the things that DevView handles for you, is that it also, in addition to passing the actual value, it also passes a reference. So this is the reason why all of the DevView components are required to take a map, is that so it has a place to put all this stuff you don't care about.
Right. And the reference, I'm sorry, is where's the reference?
So if you don't tell it where the reference is, well, it's passed in the map. So if you take the same example that I sent you,
yep,
but pass in an extra key to the number slider that is, colon, $, num. So these are kind of implementation deals, but num, and then you can pass in kind of whatever you want there. But this basically, it adds this extra argument that and so what DevUI does is it reads your code and it follows. So when you called my slider, in the I can't remember what the name of that component is called, the render view.
Yep.
So in render view, you have the properties frame, and so it traces your code and figures that that frame is the same property that got passed in.
Yeah.
And so it can figure out how to make the reference from back to, or it figures out how to produce a reference for you. So in like the to-do app, a lot of times, like, you have to write all this code too to kind of like figure out how to, like, where it's located.
Yeah.
So as an example, instead of yeah, it's a lot harder to do these examples without I mean, maybe at some point it would be good for me to present, and then I could like explain things with examples more quickly. But basically, render view is an easy example because it has the frame property, and that's getting passed directly to my slider. But the DevUI can also do more complicated things, like if you have a let statement and you pull a key out of a map, and then you use a for loop, and then you pull another key out, and then you get the third element. It can trace through all. So one of the nice things about Clojure is that there's really uniform data access. There's like nth, get, and first. There's like a handful of like primitives that are used for data access, and so it can kind of create that key path for you to like.
And so is this? Are you saying this is the reference?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay. And by the way, this reminds me of the Velcro mutations.
Right. Yeah.
So cool. So got it.
If we wrapped our my slider, let's see. Sorry, I'm looking up something really quick.
Yeah.
So one thing that we can do I don't know how interested you are in like the internals, but maybe it does help with the mental model. So if we wrap our my slider component within the render view with UI, and then there's a function called on-bubble. And then, so the first thing is a function, and then the second argument should be our slider.
I'm sorry. Okay.
And so for this function, let's have it be multi-arity, so like ampersand, args, or whatever.
Okay.
And so let's just print out those args as our
I'll use my. Do I need to wrap the
yeah, so
slider?
bubbles as the second argument should be the slider should be the second argument. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Like this. Oh wait. Do I need to? Is that okay?
I think that looks good.
Okay.
So hopefully when you update it, it shouldn't do anything. And then if you go to use the slider, you'll note that one, it doesn't do anything.
Oh.
But when you click, it actually so those are the actual intents that are getting returned.
Got it.
And you see that the bubbler gives you the opportunity to like intercept child events. So if you have like if you want to just display it, like this is really great for dev tooling, because a lot of times you want to see the component, or you want to do something different with it, and you don't want it directly connected to the database, because if it's like firing effect, you can't just like,
yeah.
So now you've just turned it back into a view. You've overwritten all of its events, or a lot of times you'll have something like a phone text input. So it's a regular text input, but you only want to like accept certain key presses. So this lets you either capture the event and modify it before giving it to the child component, or the child component gives you what it wants to do, and you can be like, nope. Got it. This lets you kind of, so this is instead of like event I think it's stop propagation or prevent default.
Yep.
So that's kind of that's the imperative version. The functional version is just to like,
right.
You can, and there's various ways to do that, but here you can actually see the key path.
Love it.
So you can see that it's sticking the mouse down state that you don't care about in this like this really hairy spot, but the second argument should be So if you, I don't know if you can see where it's not printing out nil. If you can, you should be able to see a key path to if you scroll all the way to the right, because I think it's the second argument. Yeah, so key path frame. So that's where it's saying update slider, key path frame.
Wait, key path frame. Actually,
and so
even in 30 seconds, what does that mean? Like, what's that signify? I thought I was going to say, what does the colon frame refer to?
That's the key path of the frame of the number that gets passed to you.
Got it. And frame is an internal membrane concept.
No, that's the name of the that's where it's located in your atom.
No, okay. Frame is my it's this thing that I'm hovering my mouse on. Stand by. Why frame? Why not SimState? Or why I'm sorry, what is so special about frame that makes it the reference or the key path?
So the number slider, you passed frame to num. And so it's up, and so the number slider is it's going to modify this number. Got it. So it gets the number, the current value of the number, plus a reference to the number itself.
Got it. I 50% got it. Okay, I think I.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm explaining this very well.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you ever used ohm. Is that?
No.
Okay, so I mean, basically, what ohm did was you would have this top level state, and you would have this cursor thing.
Yep.
And so you would like pass the cursor down your app tree, and then your event handler you would end up with basically this cursor to both get the value and update it. This is similar to that,
Got it.
but the difference is architecturally very important. So one, instead of having these operations of get and set, one, you just get the value and you get that, and you can have that independent of the reference. And then secondly, you have a reference, which is just more data. And it's also, it's not like a side affecting, like here's how to set it. It's like, here's a reference. And so the way to set it is there's a default there's a default effect handler that given a reference will set it. I'm sure I'm not explaining this well.
No. In fact, I
idea
think
is
I just saw one, right? That's this thing here.
Right. So there's a default effect that's called set that's built in, which you can override. So I have an experiment where instead of just storing this stuff in an atom with the map, which is what we're doing, instead there's an atom with a data script database.
Yeah.
And so it's updating the instead of setting it inside the map, it's like creating a data script query to update the reference inside the data script database.
Love it. So cool.
So
in fact, just a little side note, this simulator thing, I spent an embarrassing amount of time just kind of updating variables, kind of in a Spectre-like way. And every once in a while, like forgot to change a sequence into a vector. So like my association with a number, blew up, and just made me realize, I mean, it's just like, oh, this is so dumb. Maybe there's I actually want to see, try rewriting it in DataScript to see if like that makes any of those problems. I mean, because I'm certainly using like an EAV pattern. So why don't I actually use DataScript to store all the state?
Right.
Just because like life is short, trying to hunt down a null pointer exception due to something being a list instead of a vector. Does that resonate with you?
Well, I mean, so the goal here is that I mean, so I think it would be, if I was presenting, it'd be easier to show an example, but basically like you have the number slider and it doesn't actually care where stuff is stored. So if there was like so like typically to like, let's say you change the name of the frame key to a different key, or you had frame 2 or like something like that, you just, instead of having to rewrite the thing that like goes in this deeply nested thing to figure it out where to update it and writing that query yourself, it just looks at your code, the access patterns, and writes it for you. And so, and then it makes it really easy to get these reusable pieces. So this number slider, you don't have to like, there's no callbacks that you press, that you call, you don't have to pass in callbacks. So it just, you write the code that you would normally write, and then it figures out how to do the reverse for you because all the information is already there.
Okay, crazy. I forget, I have to leave in about 15 minutes. Can I propose, by the way, this is so helpful, and I'm still having my mind blown by the fact that the slider is essentially 8 lines of code, and the way it works shows up in 2, am I using the right word, instances, 2 windows, and they're all sharing the same state. Blows my mind. It just is dark sorcery. I love it. And I love all these examples of just proving that there is not I've now thoroughly been convinced, and now I have a visceral understanding that there is no imperative stuff going on. That it really is astonishing.
Yeah.
Can we maybe put in some desired outcomes for the next 15 minutes?
Okay, yeah, let's see what we can do.
Okay, I propose the one thing I would submit would be can we see if we can get a left banner, a left pane working and a button that activates, that calls something. Oh, super funny. I can see now the danger of having side effects in the handlers. Is that what you call it?
Yeah.
that was pretty funny. Like, so maybe I will, let me add that to the list, is take side effects out of
Yeah, so maybe we can do one example of doing that, just as a, and then we can turn one side effect into an intent and separate those two out just for one of the handlers. And then if you want to do it for the rest, it should be easy because
Love
it
it.
should be pretty straightforward.
Perfect. Yeah.
So maybe animate all, or actually first frame is probably the easiest.
Okay, first frame. In fact, let me save here. Just convince myself this all works. Oh, I gotta take the bubble out. Amazing. Amazing. Okay, we still have, both of those. All right, so by the Adrian, this is so fun, and I'm a little bit like not up to 100%, but I am as enthusiastic and elated and grateful as I was yesterday. So
yeah, this is fun.
Let's see here. So clearly, we want to take out, we're going to return something.
Right. So I mean, we can I think, in fact, we can just remove that handler because we're already we're already calling previous frame in the key press. Or actually, no, let's leave it. So let's because we have pre-frame and we need to return a vector of the pre-frame keyword.
Yep.
And then also the current page and total pages.
Okay, and I'm going to take, I just cut the oh wait, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so let's wrap that in a vector.
Okay, a vector or vector vectors. Yeah.
A vector of vectors.
Yep. And then, do I call it pre-frame or do I need a different one? A different keyword?
Let's just call it pre-frame. I think that's a good name for it.
Uh-huh.
And then it should get its current page and total pages.
So we handle the event here, and we're just gonna return that. Okay.
Yeah, and this is actually I usually don't do it within the same function, but it's actually really useful for if you have like a child component, it can return it. So like you have an add to do button.
Yeah.
And the add to do button, it doesn't know anything about its parents or doesn't know anything. So like it can't tell you which to-do list to add a to-do for.
Right.
So what you do is you have the add to do button, and then it's parents who knows which to-do list, because there may be more than one. Maybe you have like 4 different to-do lists. It has so I mean, it's just like in Clojure. If you don't know, leave it out.
Yeah.
So the add to do button returns the add to do event, and then its parent catches that on bubble and then adds in the extra information that it now knows.
Okay.
And so it's really convenient for that kind of use case.
Got it.
You know, the to-do doesn't know about the to-do list, and the to-do list doesn't know about the other to-do list, and then the other to-do lists don't know about whatever else is.
And just to make sure I'm learning the right thing. So basically, it shouldn't bother me that this is like overloaded. They don't collide. This is actually conceptually exactly what's supposed to be happening. We're going to add information and keep passing it up.
Yeah, I mean, from a technical perspective, this is totally fine. From a best practices, I think this is fine, but this is the type of thing where like, I'm kind of the only one that's been, for the most part, I'm the one that's doing this. So there's not a lot of industry experience that's like tried this out and had this in production for a couple of years to figure out, is this best practice? It may turn out that this is good best practice. It may turn out that like people try this.
Yeah. This is a terrible idea. This is
sometimes some of the stuff we're just figuring out because there's not necessarily a lot of experience to leverage here.
Roger. Okay. So can I guess that if we're going to return this, just based on what you said, we're going to handle previous frame in the parent?
We could do that, but I think the recommended way is just create. This is where the def effect macro comes in. So we're going to create a new effect, which is the previous frame.
But
so I usually just put it right above it.
Yeah.
And so def effect, the first argument is a keyword. Yeah. And then it takes a regular argument list, which will be current page and total pages. So it should look just like your pre-frame function. And in fact, all this thing needs to do is call the previous frame function, which you already created. So I was saying that I feel like sometimes our workflows are very similar. So in a sense, you've like kind of already structured your application this way anyway. So this just kind of helps support that.
I love it. Okay, so and basically, in a very reframe like way, this is now like it's now pure, and we're not doing side effects in the event. we're not. Yeah, this is great. And
so hopefully this works.
Great. Previous frame. I must have screwed up the argument list.
Oh yeah, I think
that makes sense. Oh, cool. Okay. That appears to work.
Cool.
Okay, love it. Okay, that was actually a great lesson in terms of the value of keeping this part pure.
Yeah, so if this was pure, we could fire, like we can just like spam it with keyboard presses and mouse presses and see all the stuff that would happen without anything actually happening. It just tells us, it gives us like a list of
this is so cool. I mean, like all of Selenium is like like trying to find all the buttons, click the buttons, right? I mean, it's a
right.
This is imagine a world where you didn't have to do all that. Okay, that is awesome. Okay, great. Hey, that's awesome. And then, okay, super cool. And then left pane. Okay, let me check that in. And so is that called an event handler? That's
I usually call it, oh yeah, event handlers. So there's the event handler and then the effect handler. So the event handler is the one inside the view and the effect handler is the one outside the view. So yeah.
Awesome. Okay, cool. All right. Okay, create a pane. So looking at this, Adrian, this is so fun. Okay, so let's cut this below the, whatever we call this thing, the pager thing, and the turn. Maybe the turn. Okay, for now, let's just split the window and create like 150 pixel left pane. With
okay, so buttons. One thing that I would recommend here is, so instead of working on the pane inside of the larger application, let's just build the other thing, and then we can eventually put it, once we're done, we just put it in.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Okay. Okay, so I would like to make a new window like you showed me before. Let's see, it'd be the equivalent of a, shoot, it was equivalent of what the render view was. So
yeah, so another common thing is so instead of doing def, and I just do def UI and then have that take an empty map, and then use that as my dev view.
Okay, got it, got it.
And then it kind of does the same thing, but then you get all the def UI and component stuff.
Got it, got it. So
Yeah, so then I just pass in an empty map, and then I do everything.
yeah, how do you like that?
Yeah, or just
Okay.
an empty map, but that also works, I think.
Okay.
So hopefully, as long as it doesn't complain, I think you're good to go.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see here. So it's a horizontal layout. Is that right? And then a UI variable. Hello.
And yeah, you may need to pass in
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
MakeApp,
Yep.
but you can just do that in line. You don't need
Okay.
to def it separately.
So Skia run MakeApp.
Yeah, the
far outer pane.
and then as the second argument, just do an empty map, and that should be.
Okay.
So you can't give it an atom, but you can also just give it the initial state, and it'll create an atom for you.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so something. Okay, I expected to see a hello here.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. I had to reevaluate. I don't know.
Maybe retyped it in and didn't reevaluate. I don't know. That is
Okay.
weird.
Okay, no worries, no worries. Okay, so and then we just need a pane. So is it let's see, is it two horizontal? Yes, a horizontal layout. And so what is a pane? It's like you got a left layout and a right layout. Is that, am I thinking about that correctly?
I'm not actually sure what I mean, I would just
Yeah, I'm listening. Like I'm floundering around.
oh, you just want, yeah, I mean, you can have two things next to each other, and then you can move stuff around with translate as well if you want to explicitly move it. Oh yeah, so if you wanted to make it have like a minimal
Oh yes.
space, then you can if you put the spacer and the label in a vector, that will
right.
that kind of puts them on top of each other, but it also
Yes. Oh, so good. And then let's see here. We want this to be a button.
oh, so now that we have the def UI stuff, we can use basic. There's a component called basic button, which the only benefit is that it has a hover state.
Oh,
but now you get hover state for free. So
okay.
So there's I think you already have an alias for the basic components namespace, which is alias to basic. So it should just be basic/button. And so since it's a component, it takes a map with, and you can just pass in the text. And then eventually we can add an on click handler if we want. So hopefully.
Wait a minute. Label.
So those are all on the vector. So all of those are just going to be on top of each other. But
so hang on. Can I pull this out of the vector? Is that the way it works? No. How do I need to do a, sorry, a
I'm
little
not
fuzzy
sure.
right now. So I want on top of each other. I want these to be on top of each other. Oh, so do I have to create a vertical layout now of
Yeah, so I would yeah, vertical layout.
got it.
Yeah, so I mean, some of this stuff is clunky, and I mean, the eventual goal is to have like a direct manipulation thing where you can just kind of do this visually, because there's a bunch of stuff that's missing that like makes it easier for programmers to kind of specify this stuff.
Yeah.
But for me, the end goal is not to make it easy for the programmer; it's to make it easy for the designer to like specify this stuff, because that's who's good at doing graphic design, is the UI designer.
Yeah,
So
yeah. All right, and by the way, that gets to the MFC layout designer, Visual Basic. I mean, which was amazing. Is amazing, right? I mean, Microsoft Access.
right.
By the way, and I do find this, you call it clunky, but I find it very usable. Just this is great. And then I'm guessing if I do on click.
Yep. I think that
Okay. Very, oh, wait a minute. So if and if we didn't actually want to call a function, I thought you would have said, oh, this is side effecty. Like really the better way to do it is something else. Like what? Oh, this is actually returning a value.
No, I mean, you can just I mean, I think it's okay for debugging. I mean, yeah, I mean, I think it's okay to like for debugging, put that kind of stuff in there, but ideally this would just be a function that returns some
Right.
intent. So
A
instead of
keyword.
turning,
Yeah, I got it.
it should return the sequence of intents, and each intent is a vector.
Got it.
I think ideally and it might be extended where an intent could be a vector or a map. But I haven't made that change just because I want to like again think through a lot of the whole, like from a holistic perspective, what should get changed.
Yeah.
But
Awesome.
yeah, I think, yeah.
This is great. In fact, you know what? I bet in 2 minutes, now that we have an outer pane, okay, let's see here. Your amazing challenge was build the outer pane first, and then use the outer pane, feed all this into the outer pane. So I think, and we can do this. I'm going to add an argument here called take a view and render the view here.
Well, so the usually what I do is I mean, we started with outer pane. So usually I have like the dev view, which is like my kind of workspace for whatever in the window. And then I create the separate components because there's one kind of, and since that's my workflow, there's this clunky thing where if you add a property, you need to recreate the app and reopen the window.
Oh.
So, but yeah, you can do it that way. That's unfortunately, I guess I should just fix that.
Okay, so you're saying I would probably have to restart. Okay, if I heard you correctly, that would be the right way to do it, is I would pass in this thing into outer pane, and that would add outer pane to here.
Yeah, you can do that.
And let's see here. So no, I can just outer pane. Can I call it view? Like that.
Yeah.
Wait, did I do that right? That can't work. Okay, and you're saying that I might have to reopen a new window?
Yeah. Or actually, I mean, it looks like it showed up, so I'm not sure the state will work, but we can, oh, actually it might. I don't know, let's so in the second window, it looks like the pane is there.
No way.
Does the number slider still work?
Yeah, holy cow.
Okay, so I guess
It worked.
yeah, in some cases it may require recreating the app and restarting the window, but I guess in some cases it doesn't. So
Oh my gosh. Okay, Adrian, thank you. This is another amazing 2 hours. Is it really 2 hours? Holy cow. Brilliant. This is such a treat. And I'm continually having my mind blown. And okay, I've got to say, I think I maybe 50%, maybe 60% understand the way the components work and state management work, but I think I understand enough of it where it's just I'm in awe of it. So thank you. So my goal now is actually, this is actually exactly what I want to be doing. I want to create all of the startup stuff will now happen here. And I don't have to do, yeah, that is my goal. And then
cool.
I'm gonna get my simulator working so that it's will pass all the tests and not hang, not get stuck like it is now. Very good. Oh, frame rate has now dropped. Why?
Oh, I bet it's because I think we're on W3 and the repaint. Oh no, that shouldn't matter.
Oh, yeah.
I don't actually think that should matter though.
Right. I'm getting a little bit confused at where my where do I start up render view? Is it this? Can I make another one of these? Wait, W2.
So if you type in W, what is that?
Yeah.
Does W actually? Oh, it's because I don't think there is a W.
Right. And,
so if you just change that to W2 or W3, hopefully that will. I think you only need to change it in the resolve. But yeah, this seems like an area where having
amazing. Okay, very good. All right. Oh, this is so fun. Hey, I appreciate it so much. And I guess I might take a little break. But please expect some more effusive comments in Slack.
yeah, it's been really fun. I really appreciate you sharing all this and recording all this. So it's been really fun on my end as well.
Oh, very good, very good. All right, I'm gonna hit the stop button. Actually, oh my gosh. And hey, high five before I stop recording. Nice. Oh.